Hi everyone, this is Dave from Geekanoids and this is my questions and answers video for the 27th of July 2010. Now just 5 days ago, back on the 22nd of July, I put a video up asking for viewers to send in questions either via YouTube or Twitter, and in this video I'm going to be answering as many as I can. I'm going to try and keep the video length to around about 10 minutes, so if I don't answer all of the questions then please do check back next week and I'll do another questions and answers video next week for you. So on with the first question. The first one comes from Sharpie369, who's asking who my supplier is for the test products. Well, I don't just have one supplier. My test products come from all over the world and from various suppliers as well. Now mainly either I contact the manufacturer or they contact me, or perhaps their press agency contacts me, and basically we get an agreement together where they lend me the product for between 2 and 4 weeks normally. Sometimes I get them a little bit longer for a longer test, maybe a couple of months, and then I perform my evaluation of the product. Then I shoot the video, put the video together, and once I've finished with the product, either the manufacturer or their press company actually arranges to collect that product, or I send it back to them via courier once I've finished with it. So I hope that answers your question. Let's move on to the next question, which comes from Seterafan123, who's asking why don't MacBooks have HDMI ports? Well, up until now I think Apple have been just concentrating on MacBooks as being a production machine rather than a media stroke entertainment machine. I do think that we will see HDMI in the next iteration of MacBooks and MacBook Pros, but for now you can get a mini DisplayPort adapter which will convert that mini DisplayPort jack into an HDMI port. So you can still do it, you can still output via HDMI. At the time of doing this video, the only Mac in the lineup from Apple that has an HDMI port is the Mac Mini, the new Mac Mini. Now obviously the Apple TV has an HDMI port, but I don't class that as one of their computers. I think that's more one of their consumer electronics devices. So thanks very much for that question. Let's move on to the next one. Now Marcus Brown Lee is asking what video editing software do I use, and he's pretty sure that I use ScreenFlow for my screencast, so the type of video that I'm doing now, and also asking me to walk through the video editing process. Well, that is a fantastic question. I'm not going to be able to walk you through the complete editing process on this particular video, but I am happy to share with you that yes, I do use ScreenFlow to record this type of video. I did actually review that application quite a few months back. Fantastic for recording from the built-in iSight camera on the Mac, and then you've got some timeline editing that you can do, and you can add in titles. So very, very good application for getting your face onto the screen. Now for my main videos I record using a sort of different selection of video cameras. Sometimes I'm reviewing something, so I use that for actually recording videos, but my main two camcorders I use are these two here, and it's a Sanyo Zacti VPC FH1, and then the slightly thinner one, their new model, the VPC SH1. So these are the two that I use for recording my video footage at the moment. And once I've got that video footage recorded, I put it into the application that you can see on screen now. Now I'm not going to run through the whole editing process because that would just be too long for this type of video, but it basically gives me access to a very great timeline on the screen. Now you can see my arrow at the moment. This is my intro. This is how I made my intro up. So I've got my logo and another timeline bit here for the little tiny videos that you can see moving about on the screen. And then if I click here, you can see my face coming up. This is towards the end of the intro. And then once I get into the main part of the video, I click into wherever I've stored the footage. So if I've recorded it on the Sanyo Zacti, I'll double click on here and then I pull in a video. So here's the Nomo bag video that you can see me editing at the moment, and I set an in and an out point for this particular video, and then I drag this footage down into my timeline. I've already got it down there, but I'll show you what it looks like when I drag it down. So this is already actually in the video, but I drag that down into my timeline, and then that is then in the main video edit. Once I've got everything as I want it, and I've added my titles in, you can see a title here, then I simply scroll through, check it for errors. I can add in transitions. If I scroll all the way to the end here, you can see I've got my crucial sponsor advert here, and then my outro, and I've added in a couple of crossfades between the clips. And then once I've done that, I just export it to a QuickTime movie and then upload it to YouTube. Now I know that's not an in-depth walkthrough, it just gives you an idea of how I put together all the footage. So I hope that that answers your question. And this is Final Cut Express that I'm using, it's not the full version of Final Cut. Now on to the next question. This one comes from Horde, and Horde is asking, how many computers do I have and what are their specifications? Well, I do change computers quite a lot. It comes with my job. I get sent bits to review, so I tend to use those as much as I can so that I can test them properly. I don't like to just leave things sitting on the shelf and then do a quick video about them. I like to actually use them day to day. But my main computers that I use, the one I'm recording this on at the moment is a 24-inch iMac. It's a 3.06 GHz Core 2 Duo, and this is what I use as my sort of main computer still at the moment, although I am looking to change it sometime in the future. Sitting to the right, you can't actually see this on camera, but I've got the PC that I recently built, and this is a Core i7 PC. It's got 1TB RAID set up on it for the hard drives, and I've got Adobe Premiere on that particular computer that I built, and I use that for some of my video editing now. I've also got a white MacBook, a polycarbonate, the plastic unibody design, and I got that recently, and I have done a review on that which will be coming to the channel soon, and I use that for mainly for doing comments on the videos and answering your questions and my social networking, emails and things like that. I always keep a laptop of some description around for just basically sitting in comfort and answering some of the questions, because I do get roughly about 800 to 1,000 emails a day. So a lot of emails to go through. A lot of them are comments because I like to pre-approve all my comments. But I use that MacBook. It's a 2.4 GHz Core 2 Duo for all of my sort of social networking. And then in another room I've got a Mac Mini, and I use that sometimes on the odd occasion to upload a video. If I'm doing a lot of stuff on my main iMac, I like to just keep the Mac Mini doing just sort of one task at a time. So I hope that answers your questions. Thanks very much, Horde, for that one. Next one up is from Lewis Pierce, and Lewis Pierce is asking, what exactly is Android? I've seen lots of Android phones, but I'm not sure exactly what it means. Well, Android is actually an operating system that Google employs on their mobile phones. Now, a lot of different manufacturers also make mobile phones that run the Google operating system, but it's basically just an operating system. For example, if you've got a Nokia phone, it might run the Symbian operating system. If you've got an iPhone, it runs iOS, and if you've got perhaps an HTC Desire or a Google Nexus 1 mobile phone, then it will run the Google Android operating system. Now, Google Android actually hasn't been around as long as people think. In July 2005, Google acquired a small startup company called Android, and it was their intention to develop this into a mobile platform. And then in November 2007, the Open Handset Alliance was formed, and this brought together several different companies, including the likes of Texas Instruments, Broadcom, Google, HTC, Intel, LG, Motorola, loads and loads of different manufacturers, and they were all going to develop this sort of open standard for mobile devices. And then things progressed from there, and it wasn't until February 2009 when version 1.1 of Google Android was actually released. And then things progressed quite rapidly from there onwards, and in April 2009 we got Android version 1.5, and then we got 1.6 in September 2009, And then in October 2009 we got 2.0, which was Eclair. And then May 2010, some handsets started to get the 2.2 Froyo update. So that's the latest version of Google Android that's available at the moment. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so next question comes from Stephen Jones 9391, who asks quite a few questions, so I'll try and answer them all. Looking to buy a mini DisplayPort adapter for my new MacBook Pro. Looking for ones with multiple connections. Example, VGA, HDMI. So what's the best way to connect to an external monitor or TV? Well, if you've got a MacBook Pro, you do need a mini DisplayPort adapter. I've not seen ones that actually offer multiple connections. So I think you're going to have to stick to just one and get a mini DisplayPort to VGA adapter if you want to connect it to a VGA monitor, or a mini DisplayPort to DVI adapter and swap it out if you want to connect to a DVI monitor. And then of course if you're going to an HD TV, you need to get a little mini DisplayPort to HDMI connector. They're all around about the £20 mark in the UK, so for a set of 3 it's going to cost you about sort of £60. You can get cheaper options on eBay. Neat Cables also make some as well, and they're pretty cheap and good quality. So Neat Cables is worth checking out. That's N-E-E-T. And but I don't think you're going to get one that does all 3 or 2 connections on the one adapter. Next question you fired at me was a good case I could recommend for the MacBook Pro. And you've been looking at Spec Products see-through satin. Well, I can vouch for Spec Products because I have reviewed them previously. In fact, I did review a Spec see-through case many months ago on a MacBook Pro, and it was very good indeed. It fits nicely. The only thing you've got to be careful of is when you fit it, make sure you don't get any dust or grit in between the see-through case and your MacBook Pro. If you do get any grit, then you might find it scratches the actual case of your MacBook Pro, so have a very clean environment when you fit it. Now the see-through satin that you mentioned in your question is a newer version, and it gives sort of a matte, sort of almost soft touch feel to the MacBook Pro, so I think it would be a good choice for you. Now your last question is, what notebook cooler or stand would I recommend? Well, that's 2 questions in one really, because a stand could be used just to raise your MacBook Pro up to a good working level. And I did actually review the X-Stand Pro, which is a very nice design. You can see a little clip of that video as I'm speaking, and I was very pleased with how that went together and how it looked, and I can certainly recommend that one. With regards to notebook coolers, I haven't actually tested any recently, although I did test one from Macally. It was a bamboo cooler. That was very nice, and that was made of wood, so that was something a little bit different. But I also have one from Logitech coming soon, which is an N700, and that incorporates a cooler and also some speakers, so that could well be worth checking out. Now, I hope that answers all your questions. I'm really running on time, and I've got so many questions to answer, so I'm just going to do a couple more. I've probably already run over time, but I'll do 2 more, and then I will save the rest for next time. Next question is from Renhai. Now, Renhai is asking, hey Dave, I know it's possible to install Windows on a Mac computer via Boot Camp, but is it possible to do it in reverse, e.g. installing Mac OS X on a PC? Well, it's a very difficult point to discuss because it's not entirely in favour with Apple's licensing agreements on Mac OS X. So if you do it, you could be breaking their license agreement. But yes, it is possible. If you have a search around on the internet, I'm not going to post any links here, but if you search around on the internet for Hackintosh, then there are instructions on how you can get Mac OS X onto a PC. Now, last question comes via Twitter, and this is from Emil7117. And the question is, if you run Windows in Boot Camp on your Mac and get a virus on your Windows partition, will it affect your Mac OS X partition? Now, I don't really keep up to date on the viruses, so I'm just answering from what I personally think. At the moment, I have heard no reports of this happening. So if you've got a separate Windows partition with Windows running and you get a virus on there, then it shouldn't be able to affect your Mac partition. Now that said, you can get obviously packs from Mac vendors where they include Mac virus protection, and I think there was one from Indigo where they included Bitdefender as well, where you could protect both sides. You could protect your Mac side of the computer and the PC side. So they do supply virus protection for both platforms, but I haven't heard any viruses that have actually managed to sort of mutate across from one operating system to the other. But that's not to say that that won't happen in the future. So my best advice to you is, if you are running Windows on your Mac, then protect it with a virus protection application on the PC side at the very least. I still don't run one on the Mac side because I don't think it's necessary, and I don't visit sites and download sort of torrents and things like that, so I don't see how I'm going to actually get a virus on the Mac side of things. And if I'm sent an email with an attachment saying open this attachment, then I don't open it. So I don't think it's a problem on the Mac side, but I would definitely protect your Windows partition with some sort of application. Now, thank you very much to everyone for all your questions. I'm sorry I haven't answered all of them. I will do another video next week and work my way up the list of questions and answer as many as I can. Thank you very much for listening. Please do keep an eye on the Geekanoids channel for more great videos, and also follow me on Twitter by following @Geekanoids.